It's being live streamed. Okay, so that says it's preparing. So fingers crossed that that's. Hi from Belize. Oh, Somerset. Lovely. Right, that seems to be working. It says live on YouTube, so I am going to start recording. And South Africa. Wow, excellent. I do like seeing where people are coming from. Well, welcome everybody. Switzerland, yay! We've got a real mixture in the house today. That's lovely. Okay, so shall we get started? 1 minute. West Yorkshire, yay! I'm in South Yorkshire. Minnesota, excellent. I think we've got all corners of the globe covered, pretty much. Argentina, nice. Right then, okay. Okay, so I am recording. Let's get started. We're a little early, but never mind. So, hello and welcome as we kick off season 7 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. My name is Louise Matson, and as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. And today I'm going to be opening the summit with this live call and sharing the recent transmission from Source about where we find ourselves individually, but also collectively. And for those of you who don't know me, I am an intuitive conscious channel, a conduit for energy healing, a way shower and spiritual guide. And I assist people to connect with their truth and reclaim their power, shifting their lives from disempowerment to standing in their sovereignty. Now, the topic for today's wisdom sharing is the storm before the rainbow. Now, this may seem possibly a scary title to start the summit with, but I always trust the transmissions from Source, and I always trust that they're perfectly timed as well. Especially seeing as though we've entered into Pluto's return to the world stage as it transits to the exact location it was in when America was birthed, as it were. Pluto, as some of you may know, is all about death and rebirth, transformation and major change. So it is my pleasure to share with you what was channeled through me the other morning. So what is the storm? It's not necessarily going to be something external. It's not necessarily going to be a big event, something big that happens to us, although we are seeing some major storm fronts sweeping across Europe at the moment. And we've seen some really freaky weather patterns elsewhere over the past 6 months. And whether we believe that they're naturally occurring or whether they're man-made, we've seen some incredibly strong and ferocious forest fires in America and Australia and elsewhere, and a lot of volcanic activity around the world. And so, as with all transmissions, this information is multi-layered. The storm can be all things and is all things and shows itself in many different ways. And we each navigate our own individual storms and the collective storms in our own perfect timing, and quite often in the same timing, because the external is a representation of the internal, as within, so without, as without, so within. Another aspect of the storm is around the importance of how we perceive it. If you've heard the words, the storm is upon us, those words have many layers and many connotations, one of which being fear. You know, it's a scary thing to be in a storm, particularly if you're feeling the full force of nature upon you. I've seen recently images of the floods in Brazil and, you know, the pictures of large oak trees being uprooted and toppling, narrowly missing people in cars in the UK. And that is all through the strength and sheer power of the storm and the winds, the sheer power of nature. So the storm is upon us is also a phrase that many people in the truther community have been desperately waiting for, with the American Mr. T famously mentioning something to reporters about a storm coming and the reporters saying, "What storm, Mr. President?" and him saying, "You'll find out." Have we? Have we found out yet? So again, this concept of a storm has many layers, and many people are literally on the edge of their seats waiting for that message to publicly come through, waiting for some major change and transformation to occur, because that's also what storms bring. I personally don't feel that there is anyone coming to save us from these storms, this storm that we're all going through to some extent or other. I feel that we're all going through our own perfect experiences of storm for our own spiritual journeys of empowerment and sovereignty. Storms clear away the old stuff and make space for the new to emerge, and they clear away that which is no longer serving to make space. Some trees need forest fires for their seeds to germinate. So even the most seemingly devastating storm events can be actually quite beneficial. They each serve a positive purpose on the wider scheme of things, and it's always about the bigger picture. It's always about being able to, as it were, zoom out the lens and see from all angles and all perspectives, and oftentimes beyond time, where you can fast forward. And we might not reap the benefits of a storm in this generation. It may be that the benefits are reaped by those that come after us. We talk about shifting into the golden age, the age of Aquarius, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all of those currently incarnated are going to experience the gold element to it. You know, we may have come here for the storm aspect itself, to ensure that the golden aspect comes in after for those who come after us. But I'm not saying that that's how it is, and I'm not saying that that isn't how it is. There are many different layers and aspects to what Spirit gives me, but the impression that I got from this channeling was very local, and the impression that I got was this lifetime. And so again, who's to say that once we get over this initial hump, as it were, that we don't live for hundreds of years? Who's to say that naturally we don't have the capacity to live hundreds of years? You know, there's people in the Bible who seem to be 800 years old and more. So from a linear perspective, from a linear time perspective, we have an awareness of time that is man-made. You know, the whole 24-hour clock, 12 months in a year concept is man-made. Who really knows how time works? So in that sense, who knows the actual true potentiality of this physical body vehicle, ability to maintain itself? If it wasn't being bombarded by the EMF radiation and poisoned by the chemicals in the ground through the food we eat, and poisoned by the chemicals in the water supply or the air that we breathe, who knows how long this body vehicle could actually last for? And so again, we could naturally have extremely elongated lifespans. And if that was the case, going through this kind of storm aspect where things are uprooted and broken down and destroyed so that space for the new to germinate is made, so that the new is able to germinate because it needs the ashes of the old to provide the nutrients to rise from, just like the phoenix. It needs the ashes of the old to be able to even be birthed. Who's to say that that period isn't going to be experienced by some of us that are incarnated at this time? Because without all of the toxic elements that we see as our natural environment, without all of the pollutants that we just completely unconsciously live with as our experience, who knows how long we could actually live for? And who knows how self-regenerating these body vehicles really are? Our bodies are incredible pieces of work. And this has been the focus for this last year for me. You know, bringing new awareness of my body vehicle, new awareness of my body consciousness and how to work with it, new awareness of really connecting into that layer, that aspect of my being. There are many of us on this spiritual path, and I'll hold my hand up to this, who've denied our body vehicles, who've denied the importance of them, and who've not wished or desired to really fully connect in with them. And I do hold my hand up to that. Everything in the outer world has been dictated on how we should perceive our bodies, and if they're not just so, or if they don't look like the magazines or what you see on TV and what's being portrayed as perfect, then we end up hating our bodies, our body vehicle that we came in with, our divine vessel, and we end up abusing it and distorting it to look like the magazines are telling us that we have to look like. And one of the key things that's been coming through from Source over the last 2 years now is, who made up the rules? This is a time for questioning. That is part of the storm energy, questioning everything. And so the storm has many layers, both internally and externally. For the external landscape, as I say, is a reflection of the inner one. We create our reality by magnetizing to us that which is in resonance with where we're at and the direction our soul is guiding us to. Yes, the storms may look on the outside like scary events kicking off, and we see that around the world. The whole sea narrative and the in-your-face tyrannical doctrines that have come through recently, seemingly in response to this sea narrative, the really authoritarian, top-down, smothering the population experiences and diktats that have occurred because of something that has turned out to be no more deadly in the first year of the pandemic than the flu. And the sheer panic and fear amongst people and the division and the hatred has been quite astounding to witness. But we've lived through 2 years of imprisonment. Lockdown is a term that you find in prison. It's when they lock everyone in their cells and they stay there until they're told they can come out again. It's a punishment strategy in the prison. But even in prison, lockdown never lasted this long. And it's like we've been in lockdown energetically our whole existence. We just didn't realize it. The recent worldwide events and responses by those in power have been perfectly orchestrated to show us the prison we are actually in and have been all along. We've been imprisoned our whole existence. And so the storm events that have come not necessarily are a bad thing. You know, they may feel bad to the ego because they take you out of your comfort zone and they take you out of what the ego sees to be normal. Although what I've witnessed is quite scarily, there's a lot of people's egos that now believe that after 2 years, having to show papers to get into places or to give your private medical details to everyone who asks for them is normal. No, it's not normal. That's social conditioning. And it becomes an internal storm event to show us how easily our egos are and have been manipulated, so that we can start to ask questions of ourselves. Does this resonate with me? And this is something that we're being called to do now on everything. You know, does the food that I'm currently eating resonate with me? Does the information that I'm ingesting resonate with me? Is how I'm portraying myself to the world resonating with me? You know, start wherever you want to start, but this is the process. These are the individual mini storms, as it were, as you explore the responses to these questions. But even storms that seem scary to the ego because of the change that they bring, because of the seeming destruction that they cause, have positive effects. We look at the demonstrations, and whether you agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. But they bring around some positive changes. In the UK, thankfully, we've had the lockdowns lifted, or we're in the process of having them lifted. Is that because we've outwardly demonstrated? Who knows? There could be many reasons why our country and other countries, I think Germany and Australia have started to pull back the narrative. And Austria. And Austria had some of the most draconian rules being instigated and enforced that basically criminalized people who chose not to take an experimental medical treatment, which has been shown not to stop transmission or infection. And is also, it goes against the European human rights legislation and the Nuremberg Code, all of which has been conveniently ignored. Susan says, totally agree. Something about a reset button. Couldn't quite understand that first bit of the sentence, Susan, sorry. But we caved into the old fear programming and created a possibly dangerous vaccine. Yeah. Hi, Maria from Scotland. Yes, difficult times in Canada, Claire. Absolutely. Wake up call. Yeah. So there are, as Claire is stating, certain countries that don't seem to be running things back and seem to be really ploughing on ahead with the narrative. But these storms too can bring, and actually do bring, positive benefits. But again, as a human, we want to see positive benefits and we want to see them now. Everything in the Western culture is now, now, now. You know, we've been entrained not to see the bigger picture, not to zoom our lens out. We've been entrained within this physical incarnation to expect everything now. You know, we want next day delivery or in an hour's delivery, or we want immediate transactions. I remember growing up where we used to write letters and post them, and the airmail took months to receive. Now you can literally speak on the phone with somebody on the other side of the world, or like we're doing now, sit on a computer on one side of the world and have a Zoom meeting face to face with somebody or multiple people all over the world, you know, traveling through various different time zones. And it's all in real time, it's instantaneous. But that's what people have been entrained to want. But it's distracting, and it's training you away from that which you are. The spiritual being with this divinely neutral perspective on things, which means, you know, you don't have this tunnel vision, this fast, 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 go, go, go consciousness, has time and space to contemplate and the ability to draw the lens back and see the bigger picture before making a decision. You know, how many people stop and think or feel into their inner guidance before making decisions on a daily basis? You know, we can look again at the sea narrative that we're experiencing, because it's a global event, and the jab, you know, everything has happened so quickly, and so much fear has been placed on people through the singular narrative on the news, through the governments, you know, everywhere you look. But this was the main driver. This has been the main driver for people's decision making, rather than connecting in to our inner guidance and zooming out and looking at the bigger picture and really feeling into what felt like the right thing to do or not. Back in 2020, when the awareness of COVID came in, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what it's going to be like. Because I'd had the awareness, as many channels did, of something big coming. You know, there was something coming and we didn't know exactly what it was, but it was all about the raising of consciousness on a collective basis. And so we knew it was going to be big, because anything related to the collective consciousness is huge, because it's everything. You know, it's all of us. And it was going to be a kind of an awakening moment, if you like. And again, sources saying a moment isn't necessarily what you think. You know, a moment when time isn't based on the 24-hour clock can last a long time. And if anybody, any of you who's watching, has ever channeled or received messages from spirit, you know they're not good on time frames. An example would be when my mum came through, she showed up on the end of my bed and came to tell me that she was leaving the planet, and she said, I'm off. And I was like, what? Do I have to fly back to the UK? Because I was in Spain at the time. No, it took 2 years for her to actually pass over. So when you get messages from spirit realm, the time frame is not based on the 24-hour clock. And so a moment can last, dare I say, thousands of years. So people were basing many of their decisions on fear over the last 2 years. And the fear that was basically being thrust on everybody through every form of media that you can think of 24/7. You know, there was no other narrative. And if you weren't connecting into your inner guidance, that was the singular narrative. There was no other perspective being given, which in itself is not the truth. There are multiple perspectives on everything, because we're multidimensional. We are not a singularity. even this polarized third dimensional world that we live in is a world based on duality. You know, two perspectives, good, bad, right, wrong. So the narrative was really one directional and everything was happening super fast. Never mind the rate that they got the vax out in the first place. You know, normally it takes decades for those things to be developed, created and tested. And they got it out in less than 2 years. But, you know, if you go down the rabbit holes and you investigate for yourself, you find that, you know, things were ordered and things were created with the date of 2015, 2018 on them, which was way before anybody knew anything was happening. But everyone was pushed in one direction, and fear was ramping up the speed of decision making. So how many people actually stopped and thought about taking the jab, and how many people just rushed in and said, yep, sign me up? I experienced this level of intense manipulation for myself back in 2018, and maybe that experience kind of enabled me to have this much wider perspective during this event. And I experienced that whilst attending an event around how to create summits. Because in 2018, I was given the guidance to create the Mundane to Magical Summit as part of my service work. And I had absolutely no idea how to do it. I had no idea how to create something like that. It wasn't in my sphere of excellence at all. In fact, it was way outside of my comfort zone. And in a way, that's one of the ways you know that you're being inspired by source or spirit, whatever you want to call it, to do something, because it is not something that your mind, your ego would come up with. Now, I didn't feel that I had any of the skills or knowledge in order to complete it and complete that which I'd committed to source. But, you know, I said, okay, universe, if this is something that you want me to do, then show me how to do it. And what followed was a series of synchronistic events and connections that led me to signing up for an introductory weekend event with an organisation who specialised in putting on summits. And so I attended this free weekend event, and the whole thing was an incredibly highly pressured sales event. It was like the last 2 years that we've gone through condensed into a weekend, all designed to get you to sign up to what they were selling. You know, people have literally been studying human behaviour and know exactly how to manipulate us. And the UK government have had to own to the fact that they use a nudge team. That's a nice term, isn't it? Nudge. The universe nudged me once and I ended up paralysed for a week. So those in power know exactly how to manipulate the egoic aspect of us all. And they've been doing it for eons, hundreds and thousands of years. And I feel that's why some people are calling others sheeple. It's not a term I like, because there are some people on this planet who really know how to herd you in a certain direction to get a certain response out of you. Now, you may have come across those in your most intimate circles. I know my dad knew exactly how to get me to do what he wanted me to do, and some of my teachers did as well. You know, they know how to get a certain action out of us. Now, I know this conversation may be really triggering a lot of people, and some of you may not want to hear it, but my ego didn't want to experience many of the lessons from Source that I did, like falling down the stairs and being paralysed for a week. But it is what it is, and sometimes the messages that come through from Spirit are not what we want to hear, but it's what we're meant to hear. And it's right for us to hear it, because that is what the storm is sometimes. The storm is, you know, whether it's a conversation with a friend or an event taking place or something occurring that enables the constructs, those rigid constructs within each and every one of us who is existing within this physical body vehicle on the planet at this time. All of those constructs are within us. You know, we came in with them, overlaid on our divine blueprint. I don't know of any person who incarnated completely connected, unadulteratively to their divine blueprint. For one thing, this body vehicle, at the point in history that we've come into incarnation, couldn't sustain that frequency. It was too high. So our essence, our vibrational frequency has had to be diluted to fit into this physical form. But it doesn't mean to say that we left all of those other aspects of our dimensional selves, our multi-dimensional selves, without access to them. They just don't exist within the physical form. But we exist within all dimensions, all aspects of anything that you can ever think of or put words to, we exist in, seen or unseen, known or unknown. So all of our constructs, these solid, rigid constructs, our belief systems, our emotional overlays, if this happens, I react in a certain way. Why? Because I was trained to react in that way, because that's how my parents reacted. All that stuff has become encoded into us, and it's all really rigid. And we protect it like a mother bear protects her cubs, ferociously at times. I'm just going to check the chat. Check the chat. You muscle test. Susan, muscle test to discern. Excellent. That's a good way to connect in. There are so many different ways that we can connect in, but actually muscle testing is a really good way to connect into your body consciousness, to kind of tune into all aspects of your being, but in particular that which is within the body. In Belize, you were saved. They grow all the food there. And when they decided to put the mandates in, the Mennonites wrote an open letter to the government. They wouldn't be complying. Excellent. Excellent. That is an excellent point. You know, how have we gone through the last 2 years? Because everybody's agreed to do it. We are all part of the oneness. We are indeed. Humanity has been living in denial on a mass scale, yes, for eons. It takes a huge storm, multiple storms to wake us up, absolutely. And that's basically what we're going through and what we're seeing. And whereas before on each of our spiritual journeys, it's kind of been a very individual thing and it's not been kind of really in your face as a collective, this is a mass awakening process. And therefore, you know, it is going to be in all of our faces. And yes, we're going to be going through the smaller individual storms within ourselves and our own individual spiritual journey of growth. But then we're also part of the whole. And, you know, we're part of the all that is and the all that's incarnated on this planet. And so we're going to be seeing and feeling it on a much wider scale. Elena says she recently made a major decision, feeling a strong nudge to radically change her life at 68. It's never too late. It's never too late. Age is but a number. And it was like jumping off a cliff, yes. And now I'm not even sure where I will be living. I've been there, absolutely. Still in free flight, not knowing where and when I will land. I think this might have been a reason for developing a case of vertigo a week ago. Very, very lightly, very possibly. Tune into your body. Talk to your body, speak to your body. I might be so off balance energetically that my physical balance is off as well. Yeah. Again, you know, we take these leaps of faith. Now, some people are going to take a little step, you know, like stepping off a curb. And some people are literally going to take the whole leap and free fall until, you know, they get that direction and they start flying or whatever. But in that process, just because we've taken guidance from spirit and we've taken that leap, and even if we absolutely know within our core that it's the right thing to do, we're still an egoic aspect as well. And so that part of us is going to be freaking out. And so again, it's about having that conversation, you know, having all aspects of you around the table and hearing them all out, honoring where they're at. You know, that aspect of you that's feeling out of balance and feeling a bit wobbly and like, oh, I'm not so sure if that was a good idea. Talk to it, let it be heard, honor it, you know, let that voice be heard. Susan says lots of biblical stories of plagues and famines sent as a correction of the universe. Absolutely. Melu, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Do you resonate with your experience with your parent growing up overseas? Patriarchy. Absolutely. I will get to the rainbow, Karen. Yes, we do need to manifest our own rainbow. But some uplift would be good. Yes, I know, but I'm following the guidance of spirit, so I am providing the whole channeling, a correction to attain balance. Yeah. Don't read the chat until you've finished. All right then. Okay, so back to the channeled message then. So yeah, so the ego will protect these constructs, these belief systems, these structures ferociously. And you know, if someone starts shaking the foundations of our belief systems, it can really result in violence. You know, that's what the storm does. The storm takes everything out by the roots. You know, it gets to the core and it rips it out. And that's not always a bad thing. And that's the biggest message that Spirit is bringing through this time and time again. So really allow that to sink in deeply. It might not feel pleasant. It might not be what you thought you wanted, but there's another thing. Thought comes from the ego, and the ego doesn't fully know what it's talking about, not when it comes to spiritual growth. You know, the majority of people on the planet haven't got a clue about spiritual growth and who they truly are. And I'll hold my hand up again and confess, I came in with awareness, but I embedded myself into the lower external physical vibrational matrix just to survive, like many other people. You know, I took on the imprinting consciously. I chose to do it to fit in so that I wouldn't look out of place in society. And I've got the image of Mork out of Mork and Mindy. So we've got these mental constructs and we have emotional constructs. And they've all become part of our identity that we protect, that the egoic aspect protects with its life, because one of the biggest fears of the ego is annihilation, you know, death and destruction. So of course, we have that dangled before us all the time in the external, in some shape or form, through those that know human behavior and know how to herd you in a particular direction. You know, how many people in that moment when they made those decisions on whether they were going to put a mask on or going to visit family and friends or not, or to take the injection, how many people zoomed out their lens and saw the bigger picture? How many people stopped for a moment? You know, there was a lot of people who just instantly went, yep, sign me straight up. You know, my ex-partner was one of them. But there were also people who were able to zoom their lens out. And this is because they've done the work. You know, they've been doing the work to connect with the multidimensionality. And that's basically what light work or spiritual practice or healing, whatever you want to call it, is all about. It's about reconnecting, zooming your lens out and giving yourself a wider perspective on who you really are. When you have a wider perspective on who you are, as you do one thing, you do all things. And if you can zoom your lens out and have a wider perspective on the fact that you're not just your physical form, and that this incarnation experience we're currently in isn't a one-time journey, and that you are more than just, you know, this human before you. In fact, you're not just anything. When you can zoom that lens out and connect into the fact that you exist beyond this physical plane, this physical dimension, then you're able to zoom out that lens on everything. And you're able to go, well, hang on a minute. You know, one of the aspects of me might be buying into this narrative, but there are many other aspects of me. Let me check in with them. And then I can get a whole narrative, a whole 360-degree view on this. And again, it's funny, we've been trained not to connect in with that ability to converse with all aspects of ourselves. And in some cases, conversing with ourselves has been seen as a mental illness. You know, whereas in reality, depression and anxiety are physical, emotional symptoms of where we're out of alignment with ourselves. You know, we've run ourselves ragged and we're so burned out. We're so out of alignment, and an aspect of us knows it and creates this physical, emotional symptom. If you just stopped and stopped trying to be everything that the outside world is telling you is right and perfect and what you should be aiming for, you can pull that back to gain a different perspective. Depression is basically seeing one perspective, and that perspective being completely dark, no light. And anxiety, again, is a physical symptom of you being out of alignment with your truth. You know, whether your energetic body is vibrating off center. If any of you have seen Dr. Emoto's work, I would highly recommend you do. You see that love and happiness and beauty create absolutely gorgeous individual crystalline forms, whereas hate, anger, and fear create distorted ones. So when you're out of alignment with your natural harmonic, your divine harmonic, when you're really off your path and feeling lost, anxiety is a symptom of that. It's the storm showing itself in that way. It's your energetic body saying, there's something drastically wrong here and you need to adjust your course. But again, Western medicine's hijacked it. It's hijacked the red flags and has labelled things. And these labels have become a toxic, rigid structure. So we don't do anything about it because we've been given this label and we take it as it's our identity, and it's not something that requires some adjustment to how we're being. One of the greatest ones for me was schizophrenia, hearing voices. Why do you think I hid being a channel my whole life? I didn't want to be locked up for hearing voices or being mad. And one aspect of schizophrenia is that you hear voices that tell you to do bad things. And I'm not saying that all channeled information is coming from the highest and greatest good, but we have control over that. How many people are taught from a young age that you're able to channel, to connect in with beings with consciousness that you can't see? A lot of my work has been to remove a lot of the hive mind programming, the puppet strings, as it were, the interference programs that influence people's actions and choices. Call them what you will. Some will call them demons or demonic entities, but it's just removing that influence from people's fields. When I was a child, I commanded that I was only going to channel messages from the highest vibrational beings of love and light. I had absolutely no interest in connecting with and communicating with lower vibrational beings. And this is something that we all have the power to do. Imprinting a positive command code into our field. If you want to start connecting with your guidance, if you want to start bringing through those messages that are of the highest and greatest good, make that statement, create that command code. That's what I did. I wanted to bring through the highest vibrational message, the message that maybe you didn't want to hear but was right for you to hear in the moment. And so I stated it in early childhood. I am only bringing through and connecting and communicating with the highest vibrational beings of divine love and light. And that is something we can all do. I basically stated I was only bringing through the messages, wisdom and guidance related to the highest and greatest good. And just as these lower imprints can be implanted within our divine matrix, our divine blueprint, if we take them on board, so too can the positive ones. So that's an aspect of the rainbow. That's how we create the rainbow bridge, to New Earth, to whatever we want to be bringing in, by imprinting those higher vibrational positive statements, command codes into our field of light. So the other aspect is using our discernment and building trust, and connecting into your gifts and talents, and not being scared of them, not being scared to use them. And yes, I have throughout my life overridden my inner guidance system, and I have made choices in alignment with the external landscape. But it's been a conscious choice, and again, it's been a perfect part of my own journey. And it's also how I've interacted with an aspect of the storm within myself and progressed through that. So all of these mental health labels, they can be very scary, but again, it's shifting our perspective and allowing ourselves to actually connect in and follow the guidance, and to not be scared of the gifts, and to really allow ourselves to reclaim our truth and our power. So we've had all these narratives, we've got all these constructs that say this equals this, and if you're displaying these gifts, then they're a bad thing and they're scary and you shouldn't listen. You should take these tablets and numb them and block them out. But those tablets and things like fluoride, they're just designed to calcify your pineal gland and disconnect you. Pretty much everything in the external reality in my lifetime has been designed to stop us from having anything but a singular awareness and a singular perspective, and to follow the given narrative. But the beauty of the storm is it enables you to break through. to break through all of these structures, all of these matrices that have built up around us as energetic beings of divine love and light, and that keep us in the awareness of just a human, just a woman, just a man, just a child. It's funny, over the last 2 years with the C narrative, anyone's opinion that has dissented from the narrative has been censored and dismissed, but it's, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and it's ridiculous for somebody to dismiss your opinion just because you don't have a title or letters behind your name. I'm a conscious channel. I receive downloads instantaneously. How do people think that inventors came up with their ideas in the first place? It's not just been worked through a cognitive process, because we are multidimensional beings and constantly connected to the pure source field. Everything that's ever been inspired or invented has been a download. All of the inventors have been open to their clear channel, whether they were consciously aware of it or not. So it's one of those things to really allow ourselves to connect in, and that's another part of the rainbow building. Connect into yourself, connect into your guidance, however that looks for you, however you feel comfortable doing it, whether it's during meditation or just allowing yourself to have a conversation with yourself, whether you start writing out a question and then doing some automatic writing and answering that question. That's how we build that bridge to our clear and open channel, doing our clearing work, taking responsibility of our energy field. We're a divine being of light and love. That's who we are at our core. And one of the aspects of the storms that we're experiencing is coming into sovereignty. Taking responsibility for our field of light, taking responsibility for who and what we connect to, what we allow ourselves to ingest, what we're holding within our fields. Are we an open sponge just letting everything in, or are we saying, no, these are my boundaries, this is where I start and stop? So everything that's been happening has been building up to this storm that we're experiencing, and it's really in our faces now for anyone who has eyes to see. And the storms are there to show us the structures that have already been there, but were hidden. We've been imprisoned the whole of our existence, but we were born into it like the Matrix. But now we're breaking out of that collectively, and the process can be painful. Let's honor that. It is a painful process. So the storm's been going on for everyone, but more obviously for some. And those who've been doing the light work in whatever shape or form that looks to them, whether you're part of the truth movement, whether you're going down the rabbit holes of conspiracy theories. Actually, there's a meme I really like. What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and reality? Approximately 6 months. And I've certainly seen the truth of that lately. But another aspect of building the rainbow is connecting in with your light, keeping things light. It doesn't matter how dark the storm looks out there. We hold the light within. Be the lighthouse. Be the lighthouse for yourself and everybody else around you. Bring humor into things. But again, sometimes that feels tricky. Sometimes that feels difficult. And if you're in a dark moment, allow yourself to be in a dark moment. There is no point denying where we are. And sometimes when we let ourselves express our fear and our anger and whatever it is, we clear our field, we clear that energy out. Because believe me, if you're anything like me, and I can only speak for myself, I held on to so much rage and anger and sadness and fear from my childhood where I didn't believe I could express it. So, it really doesn't matter whether you've gone down the cognitive process of enlightenment or whether you've gone down the more spiritual process. One of the aspects that everybody's gone through is that it's all been in the higher vibrational realms. And a lot of the work has been done in people's heads. It's been in the higher energetic centers from a spiritual perspective. We've been meditating. We've been getting up and out to leave the body because the body was a bad thing. And we didn't want to be here. And the earth's energy was too dense. And I don't look like a model and my skin isn't perfect, or whatever the story is. So to gain spiritual enlightenment and a sense of our divine selves, our focus has been up and out, which has been fine because everything has a process, but we're now here now. And it doesn't matter what journey we've been on, whether it's conscious or unconscious, we're at the point now where it's hitting the fan in the physical. We're here now experiencing the storm. And I don't know about wherever else you are, but in the UK, we've had some pretty good storms recently with trees and buildings, you know, trees being uprooted, buildings being destroyed, because we have to see it. You know, for a long time, and I will own this myself, I've had to see it to believe it rather than believe it and I'll see it. You know, it's an aspect of being in a human body. Awareness is the beginning and the end. Without awareness, we can't do anything about anything. You know, we can't make a different decision. And it's the end because it's the memory signature of whatever it is that's triggered you, having already been erased or healed. And we've got to walk that work into the physical. And as with all energy work, it takes time to walk it into the physical. And remember, time isn't linear and it's not 24-hour. People can't give you dates. When's this going to happen? When's that going to happen? When's the rainbow coming? There are going to be rainbow moments all the time. Yesterday, I saw a beautiful rainbow. Literally today, I saw a beautiful rainbow. Connect in with those moments. Be aware of those moments. They're there like the doors of opportunity. They're open to us all the time. And again, I'm being shown that the time is now. All time is now. New Earth exists now. As the old third dimensional constructs exist and are crumbling and are going through all the different stages of destruction and renewal and regeneration, which is the Pluto energy, you know, death and rebirth, it's all existing in this now. The minute you start questioning, and again, I was given question everything, the minute you start questioning, you're breaking that construct because you're basically saying there's another viewpoint. There's another perspective. I might not know what it is yet, but I know it exists. So I'm already breaking through the cloud. And when you're in a storm, the clouds seem really thick. They seem impenetrable and oppressive. And it feels really closed in. And it's like, oh my God, it's never going to end. And then magically, there's a break. There's a break in the cloud. And you see, actually, this storm that I've been living in and going, oh my God, on the other side of that, above it, it's sunny. Because when you get a break in the cloud and the sun's able to come through, it's like a whole different world up there. And if I could only get up above the cloud, in fact, anyone who's ever flown on a long haul flight and you go really high elevation, you climb up through the cloud, especially if it's a really cloudy day when you're taking off. It is the most amazing thing. So many times I've just been in absolute awe at how utterly amazing it is when the plane is climbing through the clouds and you're looking out the window and you can't see a thing. And then all of a sudden you get above the cloud level and the sun's shining and it's like the clearest, sunniest day. And the cloud becomes the ground and it's like you've just entered into this whole new world. And that is what also exists. You know, just as the storm experience that you're going through is existing, so is that sunny day existing. It's just on another level. And that's New Earth, layered onto this now. And just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. So I know we've focused a lot on the storm. We focused a lot on what we've been experiencing and what some people are still experiencing. And that collectively, we're all still going to be experiencing. All of the rigid structures that we exist with and see as truth, it just is, you know, the belief structures that they're trying to imprint onto us. All of that, yes, we're all going to be going through it. But, you know, the storms are already breaking on some things. We're already seeing, we're already questioning, we're already creating those cracks. the social credit score system, centralized digital currency. You know, we're already being shown from the actions of the Canadian government that if, you know, you don't agree with, or you're connecting into a group or a belief that they don't believe in, then they can freeze your bank accounts. You know, that is an in-your-face storm for people to start questioning within themselves. You know, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. It's all about perspective in a polarized world. Black and white, that's the mundane. It exists within the grayscale, different shades of grey. But we're stepping into the magical. We're shifting into the rainbow. We're shifting into the multicolored, multi-hue perspectives. And that's what the magical is. The ability to see beyond that which is quite literally in front of you. The ability to move beyond the biofeedback mechanisms of your physical body and connect into the wider perspective of reality. So, you know, they're trying to imprint these narratives that are fundamentally taking our God-given, source-given, universe-given sovereign freedoms and rights away. You know, our freedom of travel, our freedom of speech and thought. But when we can see beyond, we don't have to allow that to be imprinted. As I say, as a child, I imprinted positive things, you know? And it depends on your perspective how you see and experience these storms. If you can see outside of the box, you can think outside of the box. And you can prepare for the possibilities that you see coming. You know, if you see something coming on the horizon, you think, wow, there's a storm coming. You can start battening down the hatches. You can build yourself a storm cellar. You can get food and water in. You can be prepared for all eventualities. If you don't know the storm's coming until it's right on you, how can you prepare? So we're heading towards the rainbow. And some people, you know, depending on where you are on your journey, there's moments where you're going to be there. You're going to be on the rainbow. You're going to see the rainbow. You're going to be experiencing that energy. Because we're heading for the rainbow and we're experiencing it instantaneously. Again, we're multi-dimensional beings. Allow yourself to connect into those wider aspects of yourself and zoom that lens out. Because it's our ability to see beyond the singularity that enables us to break through these constructs. You know, question everything. Who made up that rule? So from a multi-vibrational, multi-dimensional perspective, you can be creating the rainbow right now, even in the midst of the storm. Because remember, the sun is shining on the other side of the cloud belt, and all it takes is a break in that cloud for the sun to come through. And once you get one break in the cloud, you get another, and it starts dispersing and the storm is gone. And then all that's left is to clear up the debris. And when you clear up the debris, you find the bits you want to save. And that's one of the other aspects. You know, this isn't about tearing everything down and completely starting again. This is about finding the gems within the debris that the storm has left behind. That's the process. The storm destroys that which is no longer serving us. You know, whether it's a conversation with a friend that obliterates a narrative or a belief system or implants the ability to start questioning, or whether it's an emotional release. Like I say, if you're angry, be angry. If you're upset, be upset. But that emotional release shifts you from responding or reacting in a certain way because you release that energy. Or whether it's something physical going on in reality that shows you the structures are really toxic and not in resonance with your truth. These are all opportunities that arise and provide an opportunity to see things from a different perspective. It's all been a golden opportunity for us to stop, to take a breath, to zoom the lens out and gain a different perspective without all of the distractions of the everyday mundane living. And it's up to us. You know, no one else can do this. It's our journey. And whether we take it or not, it's an opportunity nonetheless. So it's entirely up to us. You know, this is our time to review and reevaluate and reconnect with ourselves. So during this process, as you allow things to break down and you find the gems, you create those holes in the cloud and you allow the sunlight through. And when the sunlight hits the clouds and it hits the moisture held within the atmosphere, that's when it creates the rainbow, the most beautiful, stunning rainbow. And the other aspect, as I mentioned, of the rainbow is that multidimensional bridge that takes us from the mundane into the magical, that we are walking across. All of us, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. We are all walking across that rainbow bridge. And I'm now being shown the Wizard of Oz and the yellow brick road that Dorothy and her friends went to the Emerald City on. And they all experienced trials and tribulations. They experienced their own storms. And they got to the Emerald City and they came to the Almighty Oz and they found that it was a man behind the curtains pulling levers. It was all an illusion. And all that Dorothy had to do to get home was click her heels of her magic slippers and say 3 times, "There's no place like home." So in terms of creating the rainbow and allowing this new earth template, which is already there, to come in, rather than imprinting all of the crap that the powers that be are talking about, rather than buying into that reality, put your energy, your essence and focus on the new earth templates that you want to create, that you want to imprint into your divine blueprint. And having gone through all the debris of the destruction and all the different constructs and everything, internally and externally, bring that imprint of new earth through. Focus on that which you want to break through, to bring through. Focus on breaking through those clouds and letting the sun in. Focus on the lower vibrational collective construct of fear and pain and all the core wounds that have been embedded into it over eons. Focus on that composting. So we're no longer feeding it with our energy and our attention, and we're not feeding from it either. Remove all of your connections and attachments and associations from it. Years ago, we used to ground into, like roots of the tree, grounding into the earth, ground deeper into the multidimensional, deep, pure energy of the highest vibration of the earth. Pull back all your roots and cords from that lower vibrational consciousness. Ground into the purest high vibrational consciousness of the planet. We don't have to play in the muddy pool anymore when we know there's a crystalline lake beneath. So place your roots in there and grow and manifest from there. Focus on what you want to desire, not which you see physically before you. Focus on yourself as a multidimensional being. See yourself connected all the way to the pure source field, however you want to view that. See that pure channel of energy coming through your energetic body. Envision your energy body spreading out beautifully in multicolored hues around your physical form. Connect in with those multiple perspectives on how things can be, and not just the narrative that the external world seems to be feeding us at the minute. Because it's all just an opinion, and all truths are equal. My truth is equal to your truth. Neither one is better than the other. They're just different. So, this layer of new earth is existing all around us. That is the magical that exists all around us. And all we have to do is click our heels 3 times and say, "There's no place like that, and that's the place I want to be. That's the place I want us all to be." And the more we do that, and others do that, then it becomes the reality and not the narrative that we're being force-fed. The only reason that the last 2 years has happened is because the majority of people bought into it. So the rainbow, when you allow yourself to connect with the truth of who you are from a magical perspective, and you put your awareness and your attention, your focus on that, and you pull your divine essence that's feeding all of these other narratives, feeding all of these other perspectives, you pull all that energy out from them, you starve them. And then the storm eventually blows itself out because it's got no energy source, it's got no fuel, and it can't sustain itself. But we can start drawing on those rainbow moments and draw bigger rainbow moments so that they're not just felt individually, that they're felt collectively. And we can draw them to us a lot quicker when we allow ourselves to shift our perspective. when we allow ourselves to really recognize and acknowledge what the storm truly is, the function of the storm, and that it's not bad. And actually storms happen for a reason, and it's only our egoic aspect, one tiny aspect of the all that we are, that sees it in a polarized perspective of good and bad. When you zoom your lens out, when you allow yourself to connect into all of those other aspects of your being, and you allow yourself to gain different perspectives, more neutral, more loving perspectives, you get a deeper sense of knowing, and you start climbing out of that cloud belt and into the sunlight beyond. It's beautiful. And you create from that. You call that into reality. You bring that light down into the earthly plane, and you anchor it through your beautiful individual body vehicle that is in itself, is done through shifting your perspective of your physical body and honoring it and honoring and connecting with it and allowing yourself to bring your higher truths into your physical body, embodying them. You'll see major shifts and you'll feel major shifts within you. As we do one thing, we do all things. So the work is, as always, with ourselves. We're not here to change anybody else's mind. We're not here to change anybody else. We're here to be all that we are. We're here to be ourselves, who we came here to be, all that we came here to be. But to be able to do that, we get to break down all that is not. We get to go through the storm. And it's, again, our perspective that helps us navigate the storm, helps us ride it out. Because if we know the storm is coming and we've built our shelter, then we know we're going to survive it. We're going to come out when the sun comes up. We're going to pick through the debris and we're going to rebuild. And we're going to rebuild what we really want. We're going to rebuild and reclaim our sovereignty and, come back into self-governance. Because when we connect into our multidimensional self, and we connect into that and really allow that to embody within us, it spreads. It becomes embodied in the wider collective and creates those new structures based on community and cooperation and connectivity from a higher perspective, where everyone gives in relation to their skills and abilities, all coming together to create the systems and life that we want, that brings us all joy, where everyone has the opportunity to bring through their heart's desires, whatever form that takes. So the last bit that Source gave me was, where are we? In 2022, the energies have been really quite intense. The energy in January I felt was really dense, really dark and heavy, with a lot of our inner shadow coming up to the surface for clearing. A lot of storms and a lot of release work, or at the very least, acknowledgement. And it's been an interesting month so far in February. It's been quite chaotic energy, much, much more active than January energy, I would say. And a lot of people in February being given a real in-your-face awareness of that which, for many has been hidden. Those prison bars have really been made more visible. And I know some people have been hunkering down, battening down the hatches, and other people have been hit full force, full in the face with the storm, because they didn't know it was coming. But I'm being shown that the energies are lifting. And in March and April, we should feel that. We should feel the energies lifting in March and April. Things will be getting lighter. Now, I'm not saying that it's all going to be over. It isn't. And again, a moment can last a lifetime, although I don't feel that that's the case. Time isn't linear, and it certainly isn't 24-hour. But I did get that the guidance that in March and April, the energy is going to be lifting. It's going to be feeling a bit lighter and moving forward. For the rest of 2022, it is going to be moving forward. It's going to be moving up through the clouds. But again, how fast that happens is determined by us. If collectively enough people are allowing a different perspective of the storm and allowing the cloud bank to break up and dissipate, to allow the collective consciousness of all the core wounds and pain and fear to compost, and enough people withdraw their energy and power from it, then it will all happen a lot sooner. So we each have an individual responsibility, as always, and that's all we have. And that's what sovereignty is: self-responsibility, self-governance. I don't need anybody to tell me what to think, how to feel, or how to act. I know how to act. I don't need governing. I'm not a child. So what we're going through at this moment in humanity's history, I suppose, is a process of growing up spiritually, energetically, and growing can be painful. So we honour that, and we honour that journey. But we are here to focus on breaking through the cloud and letting that sunlight shine through, so we can get those experiences of rainbows, which again in themselves lift our hearts, because those higher frequencies coming through, we receive those light codes into our fields of light, and we go from there. And each of us is crossing our own rainbow bridge from the mundane world that we've all been living in, our little prison planet, into the magical, where everything is possible, and where we have access and awareness of the full field of potentiality, and not from a singular perspective, but from our true multi-hued, multi-dimensional, multi-vibrational perspective of the all that we are. So that was the transmission from Source. I know it was long, but there were so many rich layers of wisdom held within it that I just wanted to share it in its entirety. So I'm going to check the chat, and I'll take some questions, but I will leave the activation that I was going to do for the closing conversation on the 2nd of March. I'll probably do a group healing, kind of channeling, group activation session on that day. So I'm going to scroll back through the chat. Oh, wow, there's lots. Oh, somebody's saying, I have a beautiful aura of unconditional love surrounding me. So stop pushing for a new home place has gone back place you found me. Exactly. When you stop pushing is the ego. It's the lower masculine energy. When we stop pushing, that's when the field of ease and grace opens up, and we just go with our flow. This is what it's all about. You know, when we connect into ourselves, into our true light and our true essence, we are in flow. You know, we are unifying the divine masculine, the divine feminine, not the lower masculine and lower feminine. And that's when we see things happening and really shifting in our lives on an individual level and a collective level. Yeah. Jen saying, felt a strong need to gently, kindly, slowly remove herself from anyone but core family, as didn't resonate with the energy around them, and now feel peace and serenity. Absolutely. And this is it. Give yourself this permission slip. Give yourself this permission slip to do what you need to do to bring those rainbow moments through. You know, why interact with people that lower your frequency, lower your vibration? This is sovereignty, is self-responsibility, and it really is about energy management, managing our energy. But we can only do that when we recognize ourselves as an energy being. What are we allowing ourselves to ingest energetically through our field? Are we allowing ourselves to be surrounded by people with, you know, a low vibration? And if we are maintaining that relationship, which is okay, and if that's what you feel is the right thing, it's absolutely fine. But make sure your boundaries are set, that you're not this open sponge just absorbing that energy into your field. Allow yourself to say, I love you, but your energy isn't my energy, and be your truth. Yeah, some people are going to reject us, some people are going to turn away, and again, that's absolutely fine. Again, you know, ride the storms in whatever way is good for you. And one of the big things for me has really been allowing myself to connect, and where I connect most is in nature. You know, it's without clutter, it's without energetic clutter. You know, if you want unconditional love, if you're feeling like, you know, oh, I'm really struggling, animals and nature. Just get yourself out into nature, get yourself connecting to animals, and just, you know, allow yourself to soak up that unconditional love. You know, you're not being an energy vampire to them. They, you know, they are beings of absolute joy, absolute love. Check out water researcher Vida Austin. Amazing water. Yeah. So a lot about Moto and Vida Austin. All love and protection for the truckers. All love and protection for everybody. No matter where we're going, where we are with this. Plato's cave, the prison till you see the light outside the cave and leave behind the shadows on the wall of cave. There was a beautiful, I think it's the Osho tarot deck, can't remember. There's a beautiful picture of a bird in a cage, but the cage door is open. It's like we've been in an open prison and we just, we've imprisoned ourselves, having this unawareness, is that a word, of who we truly are. We've kind of imprisoned ourselves in this concept of who we are, and we've limited and restricted ourselves, and the only restrictions and limitations that exist on us are the ones that we hold and that we allow, to kind of imprison us, as it were. So, I mean, the prison, there's so many different layers. Whenever I'm given transmissions, I kind of see them visually, and they are so multi-layered. So the thing that I love about these transmissions is, each time you listen back to it, you get another layer of it, you get another level of the energy behind it, behind the message. And they are really powerful messages. Karen says that she's heard that there will be a global financial crash and that the ascended masters who are already in earthly bodies will come forward to help the humans become spiritually aware and create equality globally. Have you heard of this? Well, I've heard that there will be a financial crash. It doesn't surprise me. I don't feel, I mean, I tune in, quite a bit, and I, keep asking, is there anything that I need to be doing? And again, that is something that we can do. Start imprinting that which you want. It's like, okay, the financial system may crash, but then something's going to come in to replace it that's of a much higher vibration. I mean, the financial system at the minute is owned by like a tiny group of people, and they control everything, and it's all based on kind of debt. Is that the financial system we want to be taking into the new earth? Do we want a financial system taking into the new earth, or do we want a kind of a more of a let scheme where we come together in cooperation and we build and grow communities? And I've got certain skills, you've got certain skills, and we value. I mean, a lot of the thing about the systems that I see now is there's such disparity between what is valued. As a footballer who kicks a ball around a field, and okay, they're very skilled at what they do, but they kick a ball around a field for 90 minutes. I don't know. I don't really watch football. I think it's 90 minutes. And they get paid like hundreds of thousands a week. Somebody who provides personal care, love and attention to somebody is paid a pittance. I want New Earth frequencies to value everybody's skills. We're all skilled and we all bring something to the table, and it's all equal. Again, my truth is equal to your truth. There is no hierarchy. My skills are equal to your skills. They're just different, but they all come together, because if we didn't have truckers, and if we didn't have bin men, if we didn't have people who can grow food, and we didn't have people who could build houses and things, if we didn't have people who create beautiful pieces of artwork, well then, where would we be? Life would be a bit dull. So, yeah. Use the I Am creation tool to create what you want to manifest in your reality. And there's a link there. I Am Discourses, book volume 3 by Godfrey Ray King, channeled by Saint Germain. What do you think of the notion that the dark serves the light? What do I think of the notion that the dark serves the light? Okay, haven't come across that, but what's coming through right now is the all that is the all that is. So the all that is the dark and the light. So they're all one. And on the bigger scheme of things, what I'm being shown is a layout, which quite often I'm shown a layout of dominoes, and each domino has its place and each domino has its role. And, you know, some of those dominoes are going to, from an egoic perspective, look like dark. And some of those dominoes are going to look like light. And, you know, sometimes we need those dark events to trigger. And ultimately it does serve the light, because the goal is we're all heading to a higher vibration, to being able to embody those higher aspects. And the interesting thing is that, you know, in the higher dimensions, dark and light don't exist. You know, we go beyond, because dark and light is in a polarized dimensional concept. So dark and light, right, wrong, good, bad, that kind of duality only exists in the lower dimension of the third and fourth. You know, once you get fifth and above, it's the all that is. So I hope that answers your question. I believe everything is ultimately for the good. God is love. To be perfectly honest with you, when I did a bit of automatic writing, and I started off with who am I? And this is something that, you know, if you haven't done it before, you might want to explore. And initially it went through, you know, I am a woman, I am a this, I am a that. And it was all kind of, you know, the egoic aspects. Ultimately, it came to, I am unconditional love and divine light. So at the core in every one of us, you know, what is source energy? It's pure unconditional love and divine light. So, you know, that's what we all are, you know, that is the foundation of each and every one of us. Susan says her website is magicmyworld.com, where M is manifest, A is all, G is goals, I is into, C is creation. Excellent. Thank you, April. The message resonated through the bones. I don't need governing, absolutely. So, thank you. Oh, lovely. What kind of when you see what resonates deeply? I'm just scrolling down now, see if there's any other questions. Caroline says she's been given an idea of collecting people's experiences of shamanic healings as a means of bringing this forward into the collective consciousness. She experienced one herself in 2004. She's no idea how to go about this. Any thoughts? Connect in with the universe. If you've received that inspiration, just like I did when I had the summit and I said, I have no idea how to do this, show me. And, you know, your universal self, don't forget, you exist within all dimensions. So connect in with that aspect of you that's given you that inspiration and say, bring the people, bring me how to go about this. You know, just put it out there. You've put it out there. So if anybody's interested in connecting with Caroline, you know, who's experienced a shamanic healing and wants that experience to be, you know, published collectively, if you've got a social media page, put it out there. I'm planning, you know, I've had this inspiration of doing this, you know. It's, you know, put it out there, but put it out to your universal self. Because when I did, and I said, like, I do not have the skills or the knowledge of how to put Summit together, bring me the knowledge and the guidance, or bring me the perfect people. There was a series of synchronistic events, synchronistic connections. One led to the other, led to the other. I had no idea at the point of each where it was heading. But like I say, ultimately it culminated in me connecting in to a group of people that had run summits, and I talked to them, and, you know, from the weekend workshop and things, I learned what I had to do, and then I looked at other people's, and I mean, I'm a kinetic learner, so I taught myself, but, you know, it was that process of going through. But I absolutely asked for help from the universe, because it was like, if this is my service work and I've received this guidance, then, you know, you've got to do that bit of work too. Yeah, Astaris has just responded to you, Caroline, so that's good. Sanjaman itself, I was channeling through in a course I did with Master Lady Kira Ra and Master Kreelan Ka. He had us turn to page 41 every week to start. Whatever follows the I am has to manifest in your reality. Try using it. I am. Yeah, absolutely. I do that quite a lot in like commands and decrees. So when I'm on a walk, I do a lot of conscious walking. So when I'm doing conscious walking, it means I don't have an agenda. I don't know where I'm going. And I don't know how long the walk is going to be for. And I'm completely guided by spirit on that walk. So at every junction, I tune in and I ask, and I don't move until I get the answer and the response. And that's another good way of connecting into yourself. Because if you're like, I'm not doing anything until you've answered me, then you tend to get some response. You tend to get an inspiration because you're open to hearing and receiving it. And it doesn't necessarily come in sound. It doesn't necessarily come in words. It's just sometimes a feeling, or, you see something on a van or something passing you by. It's being open to receiving the answers in whatever way. But when I'm consciously walking, quite often I find myself just kind of, as it were, a mantra. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise, I am, whatever it is, and just allowing it to flow in your own natural way. And again, not having any attachment to what words come through, just allowing them to come through. Don't put any pressure on yourself, but, also don't try and fill in the blanks if there are blanks. If there's spaces, let there be space. Everything's perfect. Right, okay. Does anybody have any questions that you want to ask me directly? Because if not, I'm aware of the time, and we can wrap this up. Like I say, I will be doing an activation and some group healing stuff on the 2nd, because this transmission wanted to come through and it was quite a long one. How to clear karma. How long have you got? I love it. Okay, how to clear karma. Oh, okay. So what's just come through is we were released from the chains of karma a while ago. So what we're clearing are the contracts and the agreements and the vows and the decrees and everything that we've made in previous lifetimes. And these are connecting us in groups, connecting us. I see them as like little orbs of people connecting together, and they've got all these chains and links and connections between each other. And what I'll do in a healing session, and what you can do for yourself, is call in your healing team and ask for anything that is ready to be cleared. Any contract, agreement, promise, oath, decree, command, curse, spell, whatever words you want to use, known or unknown, written, unwritten, spoken, unspoken, across all time frames, realities and universes, across all dimensions and all aspects of existence, and get them to clear it. And you may get visuals, you may just get a sense of knowing. What I see is often traveling through like a portal, through a wormhole, to the point of origination, where that connection, that commitment, that agreement was made. And quite often it will be neutralized and cleared and healed. All connecting attachments and associations will be cleared, and your divine essence pulled back. Because what's happening is all of these things where we've made these commands and decrees, say you stood up in your truth and you spoke your truth, or you were a hedge witch or a channel or a healer, and you were killed for it, or your family or your whole village was destroyed, and you felt it was because you'd been in your truth. At the moment of your death, or at the moment that you were witnessing those that you love die, you may have gone, I am never doing that again. I mean, to be honest, I've done it in this lifetime. And it's that statement, that imprint that you've just connected yourself to is still open. So that point in time and space, that wound in time and space, and all the baggage and all the mental constructs that you hold connected to that is open in your field, because all time is now. Time isn't linear. And so this process is healing that point in time and space and completely being able to disconnect from it. And in so doing, you release all of these karmic contracts, all of these agreements and command codes and vows and decrees that we've made, or that others have made and you know, drawn us into. So that's something that you can do. Certainly, you know, we're all divine creator beings of light. We all have our highest access to our highest aspects, and we can all call in our own healing teams. And the healing teams that you're calling in are literally just those aspects of you that exist within the higher planes of your dimensional existence, that, you know, see the bigger picture, that aren't connected to time and space and reality, aren't connected to this incarnated form. So they're able to, you know, travel through literally all time and space and clear all that. And Astara says, scrub the floor and see karma cleared. I actually do a lot of channeling when I'm cleaning, you know, so yeah. Susan says she would love to regain her connection to regain her connection and healing power. Then imprint that in. I am a clear and open channel. You know, that's another thing that I used. That was my mantra when I was a little kid, you know, like age 5 and stuff. I'm a clear and open channel. I just used to say it. I am a clear and open channel. That's what you're imprinting into your field. And then allow your field to clear, allow the blocks and the little, like, I see them as these crystalline glass ceiling structures within the central column and elsewhere within the light body. You know, again, get your healing team to get rid of them, clear them out. Everything that you're ready to let go of, let it go, because you are connected. And you are connected to your healing power. It's just an aspect of you that's blocking it, resisting it, or doesn't believe it. I listened to a channeling of Jesus or Yeshua last week with John Burgos. Jesus said to heal love yourself and ask your soul that you wish to experience a different experience. He said that's how he healed, budging the soul to turn a new experience. Yeah, it's another way of doing it. The thing is, your healing team may come through as Jesus. It may come through as Archangel Michael. It may come through as a dragon, a fairy, a unicorn, a goddess, a god. These are physical representations of your own energetic body, your multidimensional self. And they're going to come through in represented forms that work for you, that you can connect with. So again, you know, just be open to what comes through. And for those of you who are blocking your ability to see and feel, know that it's happening. You know, it's like that. I need to see it to believe it. Believe it and you'll see it. And that was a big lesson for me. That was a big part of my journey. Why do most all of my comments disappear? I don't know, Jenny. Because I don't know if they've disappeared, because I've seen quite a few of them. Right. Yeah, I see all your comments, Jenny. We are the creators of our universe in what we manifest. Even if it's a soul contract or experience, we can say that we wish to experience something different. Absolutely. You know, and we can say that actually I acknowledge this soul contract is over. It's complete, it's done. You know, that's the other thing about being in flow. And I am going to wrap this up because I'm aware of the time and how long it takes to upload videos. Being in flow means allowing yourself to, for one truth to be truth in a moment, and for your truth to change. You know, I can, like, like the house move. The guidance was absolutely in flow. You know, it was perfect location. I felt like I belonged. Everything was go, go, go. And then all of a sudden it changed, it shifted. So recognize that, you know, just because you've agreed to something 1 minute does not mean to say you're locked in. We're not locked into anything other than that which we lock ourselves into, if that makes sense. You know, so reclaiming our power, reclaiming our truth and our sovereignty means reclaiming it in each moment. And just because we've made a contract with somebody or an agreement or made a command code that says one thing 1 minute, it doesn't mean to say that that's it, rigid, secure, you know, those constructs that I was talking about in the channel transmission. You know, we are fluid, we are liquid light. We are pure unconditional love. We're energy. Energy moves, energy flows, energy shifts and changes form. It isn't rigid and structured. So just allowing it to release, allowing it to clear, allowing it to change. Right then, okay. Denise says, yes, 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 we are light, absolutely. Right, okay, I am going to end it there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this transmission has served you well. I trust it has reached those people that it needed to reach. Sending you all so much love. I hold space for the Mundane to Magical Summit for the whole duration of the summit, so you are all in my resonant field throughout the duration. So I hold you all in my heart field. My heart is big. Everyone's heart is big. We all have the capacity to do this. I hope you enjoy the summit. Again, it was one that I had no idea whether it was going to come off because of the energies of the time and the storms in my own life. But it's all beautiful, it's all perfect. And I'm really looking forward to introducing you to some of the new speakers that we've got this season. Unfortunately, some speakers pulled out because, you know, their own life situations and things like that. It is what it is. I'm hoping they can join us next summit, next season. Tomorrow we have a pre-recorded interview, so there won't be a live tomorrow. And I'm really excited and I'm super, super honored to share tomorrow's pre-recorded interview. It's with White Eagle Medicine Woman, who I met on the Time of the Sixth Sun documentary. And then I had the pleasure and honor of working with her directly. So I'm really excited to share that. The topic is spiritual sensuality, the divine feminine. And how to connect with our true purpose. Purpose is actually, because there's more than one. So I'm not going to give any more away on that conversation, but it is one to look forward to. Our next live call would be with Peter Tong, and I'm excited for that, to see what he has to share in terms of the global collective energies and where we're at in relation to the gene keys. And yeah, that's on Thursday the 24th, and it's all the times are 6 o'clock UK. On the flyers I've put BST and that's wrong. But do you know what, I'm not going to go back in and change them all. So it's GMT, 6 o'clock in the evening UK, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. All right then. So much love to you all, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for all your comments and your questions. Sending you all so much love, and have a great rest of your day wherever you are in time and space. Take care. Bye.